Let's, let's humble ourselves and replay. Loving God, loving Father, we want to thank you for this day. We want to thank you for everything that we've been through. And we want to thank you for our lives, our institutions, and everything that we do. Since we've come here, we have all gathered here. Please come and take lead. Send your Holy Spirit to take us through. And let the person who is going to take us through each and everything be guided by your Holy Spirit. Let everything that he is going to speak be of help. We shall glorify your name because it deserves to be glorified. And after that, we shall praise and rejoice in you. I've prayed, believing in that and trusting in the mighty name of Jesus Christ our Lord. People
Amen.
said, Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Teacher Rodin, for the word of prayer. Good afternoon once again. Thank you so much for joining. This is our third session of the GP, or what we call the individual project. Now, in our session today, you are going to allow me concentrate on chapter 2 of literature review. For chapter 1, I know there are some few things that I have not yet handled, but I will handle them at a later time in one of the sessions because it also requires some time. But today we are going to look at chapter 2, which involves the children reviewing some literature. My name is Kaziba Stephen, and thank you so much for joining. Now, today we are going to concentrate on how do we write the literature? How do children that we do teach write this literature? So that's why we are going to concentrate in our session today. Now, what do we mean by literature review? Now, when we talk about literature review means analyzing what already exists. What is it that is existing? That's what we call the literature review. So literature review are going to look at the critical analysis of the studies, of the topics, of the journals, of the books that people have put forward. So literature review means that providing an account of what has already been published on a given topic. However, it should be by accredited scholars and researchers. So not everything you see on internet is a good paper or it is a good book. But always we consider those people that are accredited. So the literature review that we are going to be looking at is going to support us to understand what our research problem is in depth. So why do we write a literature review? Now, the individual projects that children are working on, they are meant to look at something, a topic within society. But whatever thing that children are coming up with, someone has already put some literature about it. Someone has written something about it. And now that's why we are saying that, can we have the children first look at what has been put down such that they build on from there when they're coming up with their own research work. So when we talk about, one of the major importance of it is that we want to know what is already existing. That is the knowledge. What have people written about this particular topic? A child is coming up with a topic about socioeconomic status. What have people said about it? A child is coming up with things concerning substance use. What are people saying about it? A child is coming up with things concerning concerning family issues. What are people talking about it? The child is studying things concerning academic performance. What are people talking about? Be it mental well-being. So we want to know which knowledge is already existing. So literature review is going to answer that question. What exists? So that is what we call the importance of this literature review that children are making. And that's what we call ontological. So we want to look at what exists. The number two is that for whatever study you make, there are always strength and weakness. There are some issues that you are going to face in the process, and many times we do not want to repeat the same mistakes over and over. Now, when you put down the literature review, when you go and look at what people have put, there are always can be in position to identify what strength did this paper have and what were the weakness, because a child may be doing something that has already been done by someone. Let me say a child may come up with a topic. Let me say a topic may be about a school environment and how it influences the academic performance of children, and is carrying out the study in an environment, let me say in Wakiso in Uganda. But when someone has already done the same topic in the same area, now we don't want to repeat topics that have already been done. So when you go and do literature, it means that you are in position to identify what studies have been made in that area, what were their strengths, and what were the weakness in those previous study. But also you are able to demonstrate an understanding of the research area. Once you do literature review, you are able to understand further how important, you are able to understand the depth of the topic that you are dealing with. And therefore, literature review helps us with the following. One, to understand the existing knowledge. What is it that has already been done in the field? Number two, it increases your understanding of the topic. So that is one of the things that it helps to understand the existing knowledge. But also literature review helps us to identify gaps and research direction. Why? Because in each of the studies that the children are going to be reviewing, they are going to identify gaps that maybe in this research was carried out in America, but mine is in Uganda. Maybe in this research, they use the qualitative approach, but me, I'm going to use a cross-sectional approach. In this research, they did not do this. For me, I'm going to do that. So those are some of the gaps. There are some questions that were not answered. And when the child does this, is able to get to know where the gaps are. But also it guides you in the study. The children will be able to know now which direction are we going to take. Why? Because the direction you take will help you to know which methodology to use. Am I going to use the qualitative? Am I going to use the quantitative? Am I using the mixed approach? Because all that one will determine from what you'll find out from what other people have done. Maybe this person used a qualitative approach, and for you are saying, instead of going for a qualitative, let me go in for a quantitative. Maybe instead of going for quantitative, let me go for a mixed approach. Now that is why literature review is very important. So literature review is something that is very important for whatever stage we are going on in this research. However, when we are coming up with the literature review, there are some key principles that should guide our focus. When we are carrying out the literature review, we focus on the objectives. In our previous sessions, we looked at how we generate objectives. We looked at how do we arrive at research questions and come up with an hypothesis. Now, the objectives that you came up with, now once it comes to literature review, you are going to put them in that order, that I'm going to start with this, go to this, go to this. So because remember, at the end of the day, the objectives answer the what, the intention. What is it that you want to attain at the end of this project? Now, once you go on and review the literature, we shall review them basing on the objectives. Sometimes it can be research questions, but also in line with the kind of problem you are dealing with. So that's what we call, those are key principles when you are dealing with what we call our research view. Now, what do you need to distinguish? That when we talk about literature review is not about listing the studies, whereby you go on the internet or you get the books and then you list, I read this book, I read this book, I read this book. It's not about collection of the summaries, that I went in this book, I summarized. I went in this book, I summarized. It's not descriptive writing. Literature review is about critical analysis, is about argument, is about putting into context what you have studied or what you have been able to read in the different text. So literature review is not about bibliography summaries. It is about the child being analytical, because remember, at the end of the day, we want our children to be able to go up to level 6 of the Bloom's taxonomy. We want them to be able to analyze, to be able to evaluate, to be able to apply. Now, literature review is going to test for all those critical thinking skills. It's going to be testing for all those different things. So it's going to ask, is the child analytical? Can he analyze the texts that have been put ahead? Is the child able to organize this concept from the first objective to the second to this one in a chronological order? Is the child be able to link up what he or she has learned here to what he has learned from this particular topic and apply it in his own? Now that is the application. So when you look at literature review, it's going to move the child into the levels of analyzing, evaluating, and application. And the highest level is going to be applying, creating new knowledge from what is already existing and applying it to his or her own research topic that he has come up with. Now, in summary, when we talk about literature review is more or less what we call standing on the shoulders of the giants. This was proposed by Sir Isaac Newton some years back. Now, standing on the shoulders of the giants, what does it mean? It means that we review related literature. Standing on the shoulders means that you look at the previous scholars, researchers. It does not mean, it means that you stand on their shoulders and build on from what they have already put down and be able to see far beyond what they were able to see. So it is being able to visualize beyond their vision. That if this scholar stopped here, what new knowledge can the child be able to identify? How can this child be able to cover the gaps that this person left behind? So literature review, that is what it means. Visualizing beyond their vision, beyond the vision of the giants, those people that came before us, those researchers that have put work down. So that's what we call literature review. So we are going to expect that our children, that these are the current scholars, the Gilaf, but can the child now stand on the top of the shoulders and be able to see far, that maybe this person didn't see that this was possible, but now I'm able to see. Maybe this person was not able to see this, and here I am to cover this particular gap. So that's what we call standing on the shoulders of the giants. And that's what literature review is able to do. So we are able to visualize, to look beyond, to see beyond our environment, such that we can keep on adding on new knowledge on the already existing knowledge. So we have what we call qualities of a good literature review. And some of these qualities we have being critical. It's not about a child describing that this and this from this paper, this is what I found out. No, is being critical. The child must be able to be organized. A good literature review is well organized. It flows from the first objective to the second to the third. So we must be able to see the link, that the child has been able to go through this step, that the child has been able to analyze the content he or she has made. He has been able to link it to his or her own study. He has been able to identify the gaps existing, and now even now is coming up with a solution to cover those particular gaps. But also the literature must be related to the study. In case the child is working on things concerning let me say energy, solar energy, then whatever thing is going to write in the literature review, it must be related to that. If a child is dealing with things concerning concerning any disorder, then we shall expect that whatever thing the child is coming up with is related to that. If the child is dealing with things concerning environment, then we expect that the literature the child is going to come up with is related to that. So it must always be relevant to the study. Now, we must always be able to compare studies. That's what we call being analytical. Like you look at this study that may be a study from the World Health Organization. I compare it to the study that was done by the Ministry of Health. That is now you are weighing, you are comparing the different studies. What were they able to find out? And what do you think is the right direction to take? And also it must be able to link to the research problem. So those are what we call the qualities of a good literature review. So whatever thing that we are going to come up with, we must be able to look at that. So kindly let me know through the chat whether we are still on the same page. Are we still on the same page, everyone? You can let me know through the chat as we proceed now. Okay, so okay. I think we are on the same page. Now, comparing studies, here we are going to look at, let me say, it will depend on the topic the child is working on. Now, this particular topic the child is going to be working on, let me say the topic is on teacher's workload. Now, we expect that the child is going to go and ask himself, what is the Ministry of Education saying about this? Then the child will go and ask himself, what about maybe this organization we call the OECD? What is it saying about teachers' workload? What about UNICEF? What are they saying about teachers' workload? So you compare the different studies that talk about teachers' workload, and then you analyze that from this study, Ministry of Education said, or from the Ministry of Education report, it was said that when teachers are overloaded, they have limited time to attend to other class activities such as marking, engaging in sports, and the rest of that. Then you go to UNICEF, and then you say, what did the UNICEF say? That UNICEF found out that the more lessons teachers are given, the less time they have to do other activities or to impart other skills. Now you compare what was found here, what was found here, and are they related? Are they correlated or they are not? In case this person found out something and this one found out something different, then you analyze, you say, now according to this person, this and this. So I will be showing you how to link those verbs and the different statements at a later time. So now, under literature review, we have different types of literature review. And I'm going to guide that for this particular level where our children are, we are going to concentrate on particular ones because literature review is something very big. So we have basically 6 forms of literature review. We have what we call self-study review. That is why someone focuses on a given area that has limited research. Here you're like innovating something new. There is not little that has been said about it. Now that's what we call self-study review. So the topic has been underexplored. Take an example in Uganda at the moment, there are some topics that have not been explored. Topics concerning social media use. Very few studies talk about it because we have not yet explored them at depth. When you talk about the competence-based curriculum and you look at the assessment basically, you'll find that few studies have gone on to study about the current assessments for any of the subjects. Now, such, you may find that you may not have a lot of data about that particular study. So that is what we call self-study review. Then we have what we call context review. Now, this one is a bit broader. You do not narrow it down. You don't cone it down. So this one has a big picture of the research area. Then we have what we call historical review. Now, for children who are going to do things within the historical perspectives, then those ones should be able to trace something over time. And when it comes to historical review, here I can say that there are some studies, most of our studies about health, whereby you find that someone must go back and trace the grandfather, the grandmother, the mother, other siblings, and the rest of that. That's what we call historical review. So you look from the past, you come to the present, and what you predict for the future. So that is the historical review. You go on studying the trend, and that's why sometimes I told you that there are some particular words we should not be using in our topic statements, words that will call in for a longitudinal research that is a bit long time, that will take a long period of time for you to trace, because you may find that for someone to trace, you'll have to go ask the people who are living in that area, go on and interact. So you'll find that it takes a lot of time. Then we have what called theoretical review. Now, under the theoretical review, this is what basically they do at bachelor's level, master's level, and maybe PhD, whereby someone looks at the theories behind the study. In case someone is going to talk about competence-based curriculum, then the person goes on and comes up with all the theories. It comes up with the Vygotsky's theorem. It comes up with the constructivism theory and the rest of that. So that's what we call the theory. In case someone is going to talk about, he comes up with the motivation theories and the two-factor theorem, the X and Y theorems. So that's what we call theoretical review. But now the children we are dealing with, they may not be able to handle the theoretical review. Then we have what called the methodological review. Here, someone looks out for the strengths and weaknesses within a given method. Now, under research methods, we have what called the qualitative, whereby someone just describes, and the rest of that. And he finds, so that is the qualitative. Then quantitative, he mainly looks at data. Then we have the cross section, we have or the mixed approach. Then someone may decide to go in for that. So there, someone will analyze those kinds of methodologies that maybe according to this study, when they were learning about the mental health issues, the person considered a qualitative approach. Then for this study, someone used a mixed approach. And then you analyze, you say, now which one should I go in for, depending on the time I have, resources I have, which one will bring out a big picture. But I want to let you know that many of the current studies, if you are published in a reputable journal, if the research is to create impact, then always I would advise that you go for the mixed approach, for the mixed method, whereby you have to have the qualitative and then the quantitative data. Then the last one is what we call the integrative review. Now, the integrative review will summarize what is known. Now, when we talk about what is known, we are looking at what we call the epistemological data. That is what is known. What do people know about that? That's what we call the integrative review. So it combines different findings from different studies. They can be from journals, they can be from dissertations, theses, and the rest of that. So that is integrative. So it combines different things. It can be from reports, government documents, and the rest of that. Now, what is my advice? I would recommend that for our children, when they are coming up with a literature review, they look at 2 and 6, the green light, where you are seeing me putting green. They can be able to handle them very well. So they can be able to handle the context and then what we call the integrative review. So in my study, in whatever thing I'm going to do, I'm going to focus in that direction of context and then the integrative. But when they keep on advancing research, then they can go on and look at the theoretical review of literature. Okay, now we have what we call sources of literature. Where will our learners get this information? Now, one of the sources are books or textbooks. These ones can be found in library. Some of the schools, you have different books, textbooks. You have pamphlets, but I'll discourage pamphlets. I've said textbooks. Pamphlets, They are different from textbooks. So I would advise that if you have textbooks within the school library, within the community, then it is okay to use such. They can be journals and research articles. It can be from newspapers, like let me say Daily Monitor, New Vision, and the rest of that. It can be something from that. They can pick some literature. It can be from government and institutional reports. Take an example, UBOS always publishes a report. Last year, they published a report about the population and the rest of that. You'll find that URA publishes reports. Ministry of Health does the same. Ministry of Education does the same. So all those reports from the government, from parliament, and the rest of that can be good sources for literature. It can be from dissertation and theses. Universities now require children to always publish their work. Some universities have a dissertation or like a dissertation column on their website where children can go and access some of that data. Even when you check online, you'll find that universities have created like a research area on their website where children paste their work to be accessed by anyone. Then we must also look at credible online academic resources. I want to repeat that the online resources children access must be from credible sites. Not whatever thing you find online is credible. There are a lot of resources online that are not good journals, that are not good articles, that are not good textbooks. So you need to ask, is it from a credible source? How many people have been able to cite it? How many people have been able to use it? It can be from conference proceedings. Recently, I think in 2023, NCDC had a curriculum a conference at Speak Resort, and they went on to publish a conference proceedings where we had different articles from different scholars. Now, such conference proceedings are okay to be used. It can also be documentaries. Now, these are some of the sources where children can pick the literature they are going to write about. Okay, now what to avoid. I want to advise that on internet, most so for those who are using the internet, we have what we call predatory journals. We have those people who prioritize financial gain over academic integrity. We have those sources where people just go and post things, and those journals, they are always published within 5 seconds. So those journals are never reviewed. So for any article, anything the child is going to use, I would advise that let them be reviewed articles, be it journals. We have what called hijacked journals. We have websites that are just impersonated, but they do not have good academic journals. I'm not going to give you any example on such, but I want you as a teacher to make your research and find out what are some of those, because I'm recording this session and I wouldn't want to get into challenges, but kindly check out the journals you read, the channels you are recommending the children to go to access the materials. Now, I'm going to take you through what are some of those credible academic sources where children can get literature review. When you check on my screen, these are some of the credible sources. Anything you get from this has been peer reviewed. Peer review means that someone has looked at that paper, another one has looked at it, and they have accepted it. It's not AI reviewed, but someone has already reviewed. So when it comes to scientific things, I would recommend Science Direct and PubMed. PubMed is mainly for children who are doing things in the direction of health. They'll find a lot. For children who are doing things concerning science, they'll find a lot of content within the Science Direct. Then these ones, they are good. However, you must verify the information. You must approach them with a lot of caution. Things like Google Scholar, ResearchGate, SSRN, or Axf. You must approach them with a lot of caution. Then when it comes to science and technology, these ones are also good research areas. or websites or online platforms. They have good content based on what the child is working on. When it comes to multidisciplinary, things that cut across very many, these ones are also good sources where you can get good content, good journals, or where you can direct children to go and access. Then also we have open access and free sources. Now, like I've said, that when children are getting this data, they can check on the government websites, they can check on the different platforms. But all the platforms I've stated here, depending on what the child is dealing with, it is okay to get information. In case it is about education, OECD has good content about education. In case it is education, means of health, education, NCDC, you name, all these reports are very what? Are very good. From WBOS, that is okay. UNESCO, that's okay. UNICEF, that is okay. World Health Organization, that is okay. Now, children can get their data, the content they are going to read from any of these resources. So, you're going to allow me that now I go on and I open, and then we interact with some of these resources. And I show you how our children, or how can children utilize them. How can our children utilize some of these kind of resources that we do have on our exposure? So when children are going to utilize these resources, you must be in position to guide them better what to go on to download, where to get it from, and why they have to get them from those particular sources. So I'm going to share my screen again. I'm sharing my screen again to take you through a screen. Okay, I've shared my screen. Now, what you are seeing on my site, this is the platform. This is your Google search. Now, take an example. It will depend on what someone wants. But now it depends. What do I want to search about? So I'll come here and I put what I want to search about. What do I want to search about? That may be, I am going to start with some journals. I'm going to search with PubMed. Now, PubMed is one of the things I've showed you where children can get good articles. So when you check on PubMed, it will give you something like this. So what do? You'll click on it the way I'm doing. Now, it depends on which topic the child is dealing with. Let me say the child, this one is mainly for health-related issues and the rest of that. Most of it's within health, medicine, and the rest of that. So I'll come here and say that I want something concerning mental well-being of children. So I'll come here and say mental well-being. Whatever thing, it can be physical activity and the rest of that. Then I'll check. I'll come here and I search. Now, what is going to happen? They are going to give me different articles. You can note that they have given us here 4,190 results. But this is a lot. Now, when you are carrying on any of the research, I want you always to come under the publication date and specify the years. Someone may want something that is current. And when you are getting this literature review, I always advise, let's get current research. Research that has been done from, let me say, 2020 to 2026. That is current research. Or you can say from 2022 to 2026. That is current research. 5 years backwards. That is current research from the year we are in. But do not get that research of 1990, 1980. No, that is old. Things have changed over and over. So you can come here and you customize your range. Customize that. What are you interested in? That I'm interested in getting data. Which year? Then you specify that I'm interested in getting research articles or journals from 2024. Up to when? Up to 2026. And then you apply. That means that now they are going to bring for you data that lies within that given range. Not everything you want that is existing on internet. Now, after they have brought for you that, then you can go on and say, what are you interested in? Are you interested in an abstract? Are you interested in full text? What are you Sorry about that. I'm going to go back. I'm not sure where I ended, but I was saying where I ended. I remember I was saying that you can customize and they'll give you. Some articles are for free, but some articles are for paying. So you choose what you are interested in. Let me say you are interested in the first, the second, and the third. In case you are not interested here, you go on to the second and then you check. You can even be specific on what it depends on what you are dealing with. In case it is substance, you say substance use. So they will bring for you things concerning substance use and mental well-being. And even you can put all the keywords, substance use, mental well-being, and then for them, they are going to search their database. Where that content is, you'll find that here now, they have brought it minor mobile mental health and substance use. They have brought in mental health and the rest. That means they're going to give you the content that is related to what you are interested in. Then you can also come here and say, what are you interested in? Are you interested in a book or not? Are you interested in this or this? So you keep adding whatever thing you are interested in. Now, after you getting the article, let me say this is the article that is related. You will click on that particular article. And then the child will go on and he or she reads that this is the article, and the rest of that. So the child will be able to read. But now I'm going to come back here at some point to show you how the children are going to be reading. Now I'm still showing you the different websites, the different online resources where children can get this kind of information and how they can utilize. In case now we go to, I'm opening another browser. In case now I go to Science Direct, I'll go on and I search. Now this is sciencedirect.com. So I'll go on and I click on it. Now Science Direct combines many things. It has things of science, health, medicine, and the rest of that. Then you'll start asking yourself, what is it that I want? That maybe I want an article about artificial intelligence. In case that is what the child is working on, that maybe the topic is in the line with artificial intelligence. In case you know the book, you put. In case you don't know, no worries. For you to go and put in what you are interested in. Then they will bring for you different articles about artificial intelligence and the rest of that. And then I want you always now, when you come to Science Direct, also choose the years you are interested in. Because I've said, let your current research be within the 5 years below. So I will come here and say, I want 2022. Feel free to click 2024, 2025, and 2026. Those are the things you are interested in. So they will only bring for you that research because sometimes this research that is behind has taken some good time. So it's taken some good time. Now, after that, I want you to come and check out under article here, under article type. I would always recommend go for what we call reviewed articles. Articles that have been reviewed. It can be research articles and the rest of that. Then you can go on and then select the subject area. It will depend. The kind of subject area. Is the child staying within social science? Now, this is mainly for people who are doing things in arts. Then you click here, and then they will bring for you those articles. So you can use this one to navigate and see which one you want to access. Now, after getting the kind of things you want, let me say someone is interested in knowing or is doing a topic on artificial intelligence and how it can enhance employee engagement. Then the person will have it like this, and then the person can come, he reads the abstract, the introduction. The child can read everything. The research questions are here. So the child will be able to read through. The literature review is here. You can see the discussion and the rest of that. So someone can come and then he or she reads this. Now, some of these articles are not for free. However, someone can utilize them online. Sometimes they may need you to purchase them because people want their work to be valued. So for such cases where you find the articles for purchasing, you can purchase in case you can, but our learners may not be able to purchase to read it further. So, but the information that is already here, more so the abstract is what is very important, and then other things can go on and follow. Whatever topic for you are interested in, it can be found here on research, on Science Direct. Now, these are some of the credible sources where children can get articles, can get journals, and other things to use. In case this is okay, then children can also use what we call Google Scholar. So children will go on and type in their internet Google Scholar. Now, once they type in Google Scholar, they will come here and search and put Google Scholar. Now, under Google Scholar, like I've said, that you must approach it with a lot of caution. Yes, most of what you are getting, not everything that is here is okay. So you must approach it. So I'll come here and I say, what am I interested in? That maybe I'm interested in things concerning nutrition. So I'll come and I search. So they will give me things concerning nutrition and the rest of that. Now, in case this is not what you want, for you come and say, parenting styles, in case that is the topic, and children's upbringing, something like that. Then for you come and you search that, hey, there is an article here between parental behavior and upbringing. There is this one, and this one. So now you check out, you say, Now, but also I want you to be very careful. Which years are you interested in? So you come here and you customize because we want current research. Say from 2020, I can say now personally, I always want current things to 2026. And then I'll research. Then I'll come, they will only give me those articles within that period between 2022 to 2026. So I'll now start navigating through to check which one is related to the thing, which one will give me the data that I will need for my thing. That maybe this is the one I'm interested in for 2022. So I'll go and click on it. Sometimes in case you are unable to access, it is not okay. So you click on the one you can access. Now, the beauty with the Google Scholar, that some of these articles can be downloaded. Even Science Direct, even the PubMed, some articles can be generated, others may not be generated. So then I'll come here and then I'll check out the kind of journal where this paper was published. I read the abstract, the introduction, I read the methodology and other things. So now this is one way on how you can utilize Google Scholar. The beauty with Google Scholar, it contains very many, anything on Google that is the research article, book, whatever. Many of those things have been put under Google Scholar. But here, they are a bit, some articles are peer reviewed. Some articles are not peer reviewed. So always you need to check out which one is better and which one is better. So the children can utilize that and then they can read. The beauty now with this such articles, you can be able to download the article and then you use it at a later time. So that is about what we call Google Scholar. Other sources that we can use still to get some of these resources, let me say it can be ResearchGate. ResearchGate is another one that you can use. ResearchGate also has quite a lot of publications that you can go on and search and get in case maybe it is about teacher workload, then you can be able to come here and search, and they give you articles concerning teacher workload and approaches in whatever thing you really want. So that is how, in case you want to things concerning motivation, and then you can come and check out, and they'll bring for you things concerning motivation. So now those are some of the sources that you can use to search. I would say that these are some of the online sources you can use, but always question yourself whether it is okay or not. And all others I've given you, that is okay. Then I've said that sometimes you may need to go to the Ministry of Education. Now, when you come to the Ministry of Education, they have also reports that they do make. So you can come here and go under where you have circulars and reports. So in case what the child is dealing with, then you come here and say and click there, and then you'll be able to get the different reports and other things that you may find on the website. You just come here, check what they have, and in case it works for you, then you go in for that. In case it comes to policy, you'll come here and check out that the ministry has some policies, they have some things, and then the beauty with these ones, you can just click and download, and then you use it at a later time. So you can get information from some of these resources. I've said also, when it comes to NCDC also has some important one. So you can come under resources, and then you'll be able to see some publication. Now, like I was talking about conference proceedings, this is an example of conference proceedings, that whenever conferences take place, you'll find that some of those things, they highlight them or they include them. So this is one of the conference proceedings. It has 236 pages where children now can come, can download and then read about different articles. Because in here, under conference proceeding, people will put in the different research articles, papers they have been able to publish. Let me say, when you look at Dr. Ahmad Kawesa, on that day, he talked about localization and decolonization. So you read through and see what he has to say. So this one is okay for the child to use it as his literature review. So there is a lot that children can get from some of these particular things. In case there's this, then you come and read. So these are some of the sources and many others. It can be things concerning WHO, that is World Health Organization. Also, when you go to their publications here, you'll find that they have quite a lot of publications they have made. So such sources are also very good. In case you cannot find, still just go. I know they have quite a lot of things they have put on their website. So all this is information that can be found and unpacked for the betterment of our children. Okay. So these are some of the things you look out for. So when it comes to some literature, you may find that some literature that we have may not be gotten within or has not yet been researched in recent years. So you may find yourself that you will need maybe some old. Most so for literature where you will need textbooks, because there are some textbooks that are more so, let me say, things concerning disorders, things concerning health related issues and the rest of that. So for that one, you can use some of the old literature, those old textbooks, because they have some good information as well. Yes, that is very, very okay. Then why sometimes we encourage recent research? It is because sometimes what we want to solve has already been solved. So we are like doing a repetition of which we don't want to do. So that's why we say that always look at the recent literature And then in case you find that what you want to work on has already been done, then feel free to change the topic and come up with something much better. If you have failed to identify the gap within what you are working on. So that is briefly about how we can access and which kind of sources we can use to obtain our literature. So may I know whether we have some questions? It can be a supplement. It can be something you want to add on. Feel free to raise up your hand. If you have anything you want to ask, we can also use this opportunity to do so before we go on to the next thing. Yes, Thank you so much, Teacher Grace. Teacher Grace has said that it is okay to use the current studies to get the current problem to solve. But after that, I think it is also good to look at all the literature to have a full packaged information of one study. I agree, and that is very okay. Yes. And when it comes to things, more so, the literature that will involve a lot of old literature is where you are going to use theoretical review. When you are going to theoretical review, I want to emphasize that one, you'll find yourself that you will need a lot of things from the past day. If you're going into historical review, theoretical review, you're going into historical review, you're going into methodological review, for such reviews, it is okay. But for our study, here, I advise and I recommend, and I was saying that we are going mainly to look at context and then the integrative review. But for those for those kind of reviews, it is okay to go in for those things. Okay. So maybe let me take on these two questions from Dr. Apple Akol Memorial Secondary. You may ask. Okay, I'm not able to get you. Then St. Adolph High School. St.
Hello?
Adolph, yes, please.
Thank you, sir, for the presentation.
You're welcome.
I had overheard that there is a possibility of us not doing this project in the first 2 years of the transition. Is it the case, or we are moving on with the projects as early as the first year of advanced level curriculum?
Okay, thank you. I'm going to request that you are going to allow me to respond to that question at the end of the session. As I conclude, I'll answer it.
Thank you.
Okay. So we are going to continue. Now, we have what we call the structure of the literature review. Now, when we are structuring our literature, the first thing we start with is going to be an introductory paragraph. Then from there, we are going to organize our studies in objective format. And then from there, we are going to divide it into clear sections and subsections. So you must always have an introductory paragraph. So that is the one that is going to lead you to break your objectives, be it research questions or whatever problem you are working on, into different sections. Now, I'm going to use one of the studies. I'm going to share with you a template at a later time. Now, I have a template here. Oh, let me open here. I have a template here. How children are going to be using the literature review sources. This is just a worksheet. Now, the first thing, when the children have identified the study, the journal, the article, or the book that is related to what they want, what do I advise? That the first step, let them identify the study. Let me say the child is working on things concerning substance use and maybe well-being of learners. So I'm going to come here. I've said now for such health-related issues, you can use PubMed. In case this is the article that you have decided to use, then it is okay to go with that article. In case this is what you have decided on, I'll come and say, depending on what I have chosen, let me say, let me just pick any, I want to just pick anything concerning, okay, let me use this. In case this is what I've decided, I will always advise that let the child first come and identify the topic for that article. Then the child will come here and say and get the title or topic of the study. He pastes it here. Then the year of publication. So the child will come here and say, which year was this article published? So you cannot see that this article was published on the 24th of March here. 27th, 2024 March. Then the child will come here and then he puts the year. And then the author of authors. So the child will come here. All these are authors of this article. Then the child will copy all these authors, starting with the major author, who is Melissa, this one with number 1, and then others will come in later on. So the child will go on and then he will paste here the author. Now, the use of the identification of the study is going to support the child to come up to when it comes to referencing, because sometimes you can read quite a lot of things and you fail to reference where you got that data. Now, number 2, from there, the second step, the child is going to understand the study. What is the main idea in the study? What is the argument in the study? So the child will come and say, what is the main idea? Now, to obtain those ideas, the child can go on and read the abstract. So from the abstract here, he will be able to identify the major or the main idea. That the main idea is about mobile app in mental health and substance use. This is where the major idea is. Or the child can go on and read through the whole abstract such that now he can be able to get what is it that this article is about. Then he will come and summarize the major idea here or the main idea. Then he will go to the next one. What are the key findings? Now the key findings can be obtained from the abstract. So he will come here under results. What did these people find out? That they found out that 79.3% of participants, this and this. Then the child will go on and read what they found out, and then he will come here and summarizes. So at the end of the day, from step 1, step 2, the child will be able to come up with an argument. He's going to come up with an idea on what to put in his literature review. He will say that now for such, since the authors are many, he will say that according to Melissa et al. 2024, this and this and this and this happens. So the child will write his part of his literature review like that. Then from there, he has to analyze the study. Does it agree or disagree with other studies? This is the analysis where the child compares to other studies, that apart from what Melissa found out, what about other studies? What are they saying? Now the child is at analyzing level. Then you will ask, what are the strength and weakness? Now, under the strength and weakness, you will ask which methodology or what did this person use? That maybe this person used this, and this. And what result did the person get? Which challenges did the person face? What were the weaknesses of the study? Then the child will come here and summarize. Then we will go on and identify what is the missing gap in the study. Then the child will come and say that maybe when you look at this study was carried out, just to be sure, was carried out for university students. But my study I want to carry on is going to be about youths in Uganda. That is already a gap identified. That maybe this study looked at children that are above 18 years. My study is going to look at children that are below 18 years. That's already a gap. So this study was carried out in Koboko, but my study is going to be carried out in Wakiso. That is already a gap that the child has been able to identify. So the child will come here, what is the missing in the study, and then the child will put the study here. That maybe the study had more was composed of only females, but mine is going to be composed of both male and female. Then the child will go on and ask, how is this study linked to my research? Then the child will look out that my research, I'm talking about substance use and mental well-being. This study was also talking about substance use and this and this. So the child now starts to link out how the other study can be linked to his study. So then the child will ask, what will I do differently? What is it that the child wants to do differently? And then after that, the child will come out. So once the child goes through all these steps, the 5 steps, at the end of the day, he will be able to write what we call a template that he or she is going to put that according to this author, this and this. This study shows this and this. This study found out this and this. Now, this study shows that. That means the child is analyzing, is looking at their findings. Then, however, now the child is trying to compare. However, he's trying now to argue out. And now he's showing us how relevant this study his study is going to be, and which gap is the person going to cover. Now, those are the different steps. And at the end of the day, the child can do an evaluation that, yes, I've got this, I've been able to identify, and I've analyzed. So that is basically the different steps that the child is going to go through when he or she is analyzing and is looking at the data, when the child is looking at those research journals, the articles, and whatever thing he or she is going to use. And how will it look like? Now, I have just a sample here that I created for you such that people can see. Now, when you look at my screen, I've showed you the first step of identifying the study. So that study that I used, it was about cannabis use and mental health. So that was the topic. Now, after identifying this, I went on and I looked at the main idea, like the topic. What is the study about? This study was examining how cannabis use is related to the mental health experiences. And what was their finding? Then I found out that these are the things they found out. Because this was qualitative research in form, then I went on and said that now, how will I reference? How will I cite this? According to Parent et al. Like earlier on, I told you when we are looking at referencing styles, that when the moment you use et al, it means that there are more than 2 authors in 2 authors, 3, and the rest, more than 2. So that's why we use et al. So now, what does it mean? Now, it means that since there are more than 2 authors in this kind of, or in the write-up, that's why we use et al. But also I said that you use et al. After at first you have written all the authors during the first engagement, and then from there you go on to write the rest. Then step 3, you analyze. What theme does the study address? It's about substance use, this and this. Then does it agree or disagree with other studies? It agrees, and it leads to this. So that's how now you're going to break. That's how you can now break this kind of study into different parts. Then you can be able to show what are the strengths and what are the weakness of that particular study. And then you can see that the strength, it provided a detailed experiences. What was the weakness? It focused on specific groups. It was conducted in Canada. Now, those are the ones that are going to give you the gaps. The weakness are going to lead to the gaps. That now, since it focused on specific groups, mine is going to focus on this. It was in Canada, mine is going to be in Uganda. So now you link up what other studies are found out with yours. Now, this is how you can link it up. How is the study related to your research? Now you show how you think they are related, and you show us what you are going to do differently. Then at the end of the day, you can have your writing template, and then you say, this is what I'm going to say from this study, from this particular study. So now that's how you can use those different studies. And that's now how you are going to structure your literature review. Okay, now after you have finished your literature review, now you are going to structure it basing on the objectives that you do have. That this is the objective I have, this is the objective I have, and this is the objective I have. But how do we write an introductory paragraph? Now, so these are the objectives. So in this kind of research or whatever thing we are doing here, I'm going to be referring to these objectives that we created in the first session. So I'm going to be referring to these objectives. Now, this is how you can write your introductory paragraph. Now, your introductory paragraph, it must take us, it must dump us, it must lead us to the direction your research is taking. What should the reader expect in your literature review? It's going to give us like a brief of what people should expect. That now here, what is the chapter all about? That's what we call an introductory paragraph. It has to be specific, that it's going to talk about the objectives, it's going to talk about this, and excuse me for a minute. So this is just a sample of an introductory paragraph. Okay, then from there, like as the children are going to be looking for, I always advise that let them identify those keywords they are looking out for, those key things, such that they know that when I'm researching for an article, I'm researching for a journal, a book, and the rest of that, these are the things that I'm going to be researching. And I think you might have noticed when I went to the journals, I was basically looking out for the keywords in my research. So you look out for those keywords, and those are the articles or the journals you can look out for. Okay. Now, when we are writing our literature, for many of the paragraphs we put, let us always cite. Don't leave a paragraph when you have not cited. Look out for a material, look out for a journal, look out for an article you have read about, such that you cite it in your things. Let it summarize the findings from other studies and let it be able to flow. Now, when it comes to referencing, stick to one style. In case you have decided to use the APA style, you stick to the APA style throughout. In case you are using 7th edition, 6th edition, and the rest of that, stick to one throughout your study. In case you have decided to use the MLA style, then you stick to that one throughout, but don't combine. Here you have MLA, here you have APA, here you have this, and you have the other. Yes. So do not just go in for any, but always stick to given styles. Okay. Now, I've talked about how we link the literature to the different studies and how to write a good literature review. But I want maybe here to emphasize, it's not about the quantity. It's not about children having very many pages. No, it's about the quality. How has the child been able to analyze? How has the child been able to put that study into context? Has the child been able to identify the gaps? Has the child been able to identify the different things? Then that is what is very, very important. So for whatever thing the child is doing, let them be able to identify the gaps, to get the findings, and the rest of that, because that's what will make the difference. Okay, so what a weak literature review looks like. Now, like I've said, that as we are approaching, our literature, we need always look at what we call a quality literature. Now, here I'm looking at the first objective. Remember, the child will write the first objective, and then he or she summarizes gives the key findings and the rest of that. Now, when you look at this kind of literature review, in case this is what the child has presented, then you need to know that one, when you read through, the child is just listing the studies that he read this, and he read this. But the child is not comparing. For the WBOS report, World Health Organization, is there any kind of compulsion that the child can put? Is there anything that the child is analyzing? Is there any gap the child has been able to identify? Is there anything that is repetitive or that is shallow? So you notice that whatever the child presented here is shallow and repetitive. So here the child is like copying and pasting, of which at their level, they must be able to analyze something and then they compare and then they can go on to create their own knowledge. So that's what we call a weak literature review. So this is just describing, but is not being analytical. So here you can place it at the basic level. Oh, yes, in case you are using that language, this is just the basic level. So the child will score something very low. Now, what about at medium level? Now, at medium level, let me say at an intermediate level. When you look at the one I have presented here, it shows you what is strong, that the child is able to explain the study. That studies show that frequency of substance use is associated with learners' mental well-being. Parent et al. 2020 found out that frequent cannabis use, because cannabis is a substance, may help individual cope up with stress, but is also linked to negative outcomes and anxiety. Similarly, now these are the linking words. Similarly, that means now is comparing. So those are what we call the linking words. So for these paragraphs that children are writing, we must have what we call the linking words, the words that can link from one study to another. The child is drawing a compulsion. He can say similarly, likewise, in the same way, equally. Now, those are what we call compulsion. The child is trying to compare what the other person said or what the other study found out and what he found out in this study. So you can see that now there is a compulsion. So that's why we say the child is able to compare. When you go on, the child will continue and say that these findings suggest. Now, what does it mean? It means that this child was able to go on and find out what these studies were about. So that means the child now analyzed, looked at the data that is available. So those are what we call analyzing. So that's what the children are supposed to do when they are writing something. Then you can note that, however, now when you see the word however, now the child is trying now to bring in his own kind of perspective. The child is trying now to explain what he or she understood. So when the child says, however, then you know that now the child is trying to add in what he or she thinks and how it's going to be related, or what gap is existing. While some studies emphasize the copy, now this is like a gap the child has been. This is like the weakness. They don't clearly explain its long-term effects. Now, the child has been able to identify a gap. This is what we call a gap. In addition, now you can hear such words. So now those are some of the words that children can use when they are analyzing. When the children are analyzing, so you know that there was analysis in whatever thing the child presented. Now, the last one is linking it to the current study. In addition, most of these studies focus on general youth population rather than school setting. That means that the child has identified the gaps. They were not able to find out the long-term effects, but also they were not looking at school setting. So that means that now the child's current study will be able to cover the gap that those people were unable to work on. So that is how now a child can be able to look at what we call a strong literature review and the one that is very, very weak. So all those things must appear. So that means that the child now has been able to analyze. So weak and strong. So for something that is strong, the child will just list. The flow is not clear, he has not linked, but for any literature review that is strong, all these things are going to be worked on and the child will be able to show them clearly. Okay. Now, we have what we call analytical structure. How does the child demonstrate analysis? So we have what we call a signpost. There are some signs that you look out for and you know that now the child has done some kind of analysis. There is some analysis in what the child is presenting. Now, among some of the words, we have the first. What shows that there is critical discussion, that the child has critically analyzed. One is using of reporting verbs. When a child uses reporting verbs, it is an indicator that the child is now analyzing. Examples of reporting verbs, things like Kaziva 2025 argues, considered, reinforced. Those means that the verbs that that means that the child is analyzing. There are some verbs that offer neutral and objective assessment, describes, defines, that Kaziva defines education as this and this. That is okay. That Kaziva 2025 defines competence-based curriculum as this. Kaziva 2025 states that any teacher who is not willing to learn on a daily basis will be irrelevant in the near future. Something like that. So now that means the person has remained neutral but objective in his statements. Other verbs that can be used in form of reporting, these are other verbs. So the moment you see such verbs, it means that someone has critically analyzed. There is some analysis that the child has been able to do. So those are some of the key ones. In case you are looking at what the child has presented under the literature review, those are some of the words that you are going to be looking out for when you are looking at the child's work. Now, we have what we call linking words. Words that are used to ensure that the argument is flowing smoothly. Now, we have basically three. We have words that build an argument. We have words that compare and words that highlight. When you go back to the example I gave you, I showed you words such as and, also, as well. Those ones are building up an argument. Words of comparing, similarly, likewise, and as the rest of that, those ones compare things. And we have those words that highlight a contrast. Although, however, that means someone is highlighting a contrast between one study and the other, between what he has found out and what is known. Take an example. When you check out this kind of study or this kind of example, I'm going to highlight for you the three things. What you call words that build up an argument, words that help to draw a composition, and words that highlight a contrast. When you look at it, they tell us that studies indicate that frequency this and this use was linked to both. You remember I told you that when you find the word linked, I think I used it somewhere. Linked to both coping with stress and negative. So negative, and we say that one builds up an argument. Similarly, I said when we use the word similarly, it means that now you are comparing different studies. Estimates that substance this and this. In the Ugandan context, the Uganda Bureau of Statistics indicates that approximately 25% of the youth. Now, you see that the child is building up an argument and is using different linking words to what he or she has found out. So that this is what we call a good literature review. Let us have the citations. Let's have the findings indicated. That even here you can see that the child is quoting from Uganda Bureau of Statistics, this and this. So that's what we call building up a good literature review. The gaps must be identified, and the child must be able to link what he or she is writing to what we have as our study, and how his study is going to be relevant to what he or she is working on. So going forward, when the children are working on their literature review, I would advise that let them not just describe, let them go into deep critical analysis. Let them link up the different studies. Let them avoid using outdated sources that were published years back. Those ones are outdated, because information every single day, new things are being created. Every single day, every minute, something new is coming up. So we cannot use the past knowledge, though the past theories, some of them are still applicable. Not all theories of the past are still applicable, but some of those theories are still. So for theories, you can refer to a past, but of which now at this level, it may be not easy for a child to deal. Then let's make sure that we stick to one referencing style, and let the children don't just copy and paste. Let them go on and synthesize, analyze, and let them stick. When you check here, you might have noticed that I was mainly sticking to one referencing style of APA, so the children can go on and use also their own either MLA, or they can go on and use what you call the APA style. Allow me to say that I'm going to first end here, and in case there is any question that someone may have, in case there is any addition, this is the time we can ask. Then I'll go on to answer the other question. But also, I want to remind you, not every paper online is peer reviewed. Always, let's tell our children to always first verify those sources, where they are getting the information, where they are getting those things, because some sources are not credible. So they need to be very careful, such that what they are coming up with is in good shape. So that's what I can say for now. Thank you. Now let me invite questions and additions. Yes, teacher Reste. Teacher Reste? Oh.
Hello?
Yes, teacher Reste.
I'm asking that, are there specific referencing styles for these learners to use, or they just choose for themselves? In this, I'm asking whether has put in place the different referencing styles, or these learners are free to choose for themselves.
Okay. Now, I will recommend that since children have to have this work typed, in the syllabus, you'll find that they mainly focused on two styles. That was the APA and then the MLA style. So, however, I would recommend that if possible, children can use APA style 6th, 7th edition, any of those ones. Because even when it comes to working out, when they are referencing, it's going to be easy for them to reference directly, because they will just come here, they have the APA, it can be done automatically, compared to MLA. MLA sometimes disturbs to do automatic updates. So I will recommend that maybe they can stick to APA style, but in case they want, they can use MLA style. But any referencing style, as long as it is acceptable. But looking at what many of the universities are using and the kind of work, APA stands out, then followed by MLA, then Harvard can come in later. But in the syllabus, there are only two, APA and MLA, that were suggested in the learning activities. Yes, Chareste?
Yes, you said 7th edition, APA 7th edition or 6th edition?
Oh, 7th edition is okay. 7th edition, but the only unfortunate bit is that the kind of applications that we have on the gadgets that we have within our schools, many of them don't have the 7th edition. We are still running on the 6th edition, so they can use the 6th edition. But in case they can have access to 7th, that is also okay.
Have you had experience?
Yes? Yes, Chareste?
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Kaziba.
Okay, Chareste. Okay. I saw another hand. There was another hand. Or you can place you can place your thing in the, yes. Okay. You may ask Teacher Jesse.
Thank you, Mr. Kaziba, for the nice presentation.
You're welcome.
But for mine was a concern. The referencing is okay and the literature review, but I just only request for that breakdown of literature review to be sent at least in the specific groups so that teachers can have access to it, because I don't think everyone can have the capability of breaking it down like the way you did. The other leaflet that was in Word.
Oh, okay. I get. I'm going to do so after our session today. I'm going to do so.
Okay, thank you.
I will share it. Okay.
Then are we looking further to have more sessions that talk more about from literature review to the methodology and also the build up of the study of the learner?
Yes, I will say yes. We are going to have more sessions, but it will depend on the time I'll have. But every Monday we always meet. But I said earlier on that we shall have 5 sessions. So we have more 3 to go. So we shall plan in those ones that we have.
It is our honor. Thank you.
All right. So when you look at my screen, okay, let me, okay. Yes, Teacher Resty?
Yes, Mr. Kasbayore is here. You saying that you will be sharing in different groups, and my question is, how do we access getting to those groups where you say you share these slides and the work?
Oh, okay. Let me pick that link for that group, and then I share it here such that those who are not there, they can, because that's one of the groups I share. Then, okay, I'm going to share here a link. So that is the WhatsApp group.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay. So allow me to share this here. So I was saying that now this is how the child can build up his chapter 2 about literature review. The child will start with an introduction. But now allow me that now I take you through a small bit of how they are going to structure it in a good ICT way. Now, always I would recommend that we use what we have as Times New Roman. So you can come check here and check that am I using Times New Roman? When you check out, this text is in Calibri. So always you must maintain the font. So I'm going to change this to Times New Roman. Then I will recommend that you go in for 12. So I'll put here 12. That is 12. Then after putting the 12, you notice, those one looking very well, you notice that here, words here are coming like this, like this, like this, like this, like this. So you structure them. And now what you do, you highlight them, and then you justify from here. So they will be on the same line. Now, after justifying, always when it comes to good articles that people write, always recommend that you have a uniform line and paragraphing spacing, which we recommend as 1.5. So you can come here, go to line spacing options, ensure here that the spacing is the same throughout your text. So I'll put this 0 to 0, and then I'll come to line spacing. This shows me that some areas are that spacing is not uniform throughout this paragraph. So I'll come here and I can either use single or 1.5. But for purposes of reading your document, I propose, or we use 1.5 for many of the international journals articles that we do publish. So I'll go in for 1.5 and then I will say, okay. So your text will appear like that. So our children, you can teach them how to align their work very, very well. So after 2.1, the children now can develop 2.1, and 2.1, that's where they're going to break their objectives. That now, when you look here, that one of our objectives that we had earlier on here was about to determine the relationship between frequency of substance. So here, the child will say frequency of substance use and the level of mental well-being. So now that one is going to be like his or her title, the relationship between frequency of this and this. Then after that, the child now will come here and then he builds up whatever thing he has written about it. So he will break and write about frequency and so on. After that, he can go to 2.2, the second objective, 2.3, which is the third objective. So that is how yes, so that is how the child is going to build up his literature review. Okay, now Glenn, I'm not understanding you as well. What are you talking about? Is it project work, journal paper, or literature? What I'm talking about is individual project. And under individual project, we have literature review. So literature review is part of what we call the individual project, or what we are going to, that is going to result into an extended essay. Okay, so this is how the child is going to be building up his second chapter on literature review. Yes, now I'm seeing a question. Yes, Teacher Jesse? You can unmute.
Okay, the link for the group, we have got it. Thank you. But also, what if a learner, what if I decide to write the specific objectives and then I give it, let's say, 2.0, and then under the objectives, I go to break it down and I say 2.1, 2.2 into that, leaving the literature review as the 1.0.
Oh.
And then is it a must that I must also have the specific objectives and also the other objectives?
Okay, I've not gotten you well, but let me first respond to how I'm getting you. Now, when we are coming up with the literature review, like always, like when you are directing someone into your work, always better you give them a brief introduction. It's like you coming to class to speak without introducing who you are. So people will just be there in suspense. Who is this one? What is this saying? What is this and this? Now, the introduction gives the reader a hint on what he or she must look out for when he is reading. It is giving him the direction to take. that is under the literature review. So that's why I called it 2.0, because at one point we are going to come up with the table of content. So the table of content, someone must be able to click and say that now this is the introduction. This is this, this is this, this is this. I don't know that I've answered your question. Then, when it comes to objectives, I recommend that we break them. Instead of you writing about one objective, because for you to understand a study very well, better when you have broken it into small chunks, into small particles, and then you build up from there. But when you handle it as to once, it might be very big. So you may not be able to study it very well into details. And remember, if you don't break it into small objectives, sometimes you may find that your study is going to be very, very big. So you may not be able to get clear information. And also it will take a child a lot of time to work on it. At the end of the day, we must also work within the frame of 4,000 words. Okay. Now, as someone, there's someone who was asking about it. Now, I would respond that what the person saw that was written about, there is a letter, but I would always advise that let us look out for information that is authentic. Let it be from the bodies itself. If the information you have received is from through WhatsApp here and here, many times that information has not been approved. Sometimes those are just proposals. Some things are not true, that even some of those things they might have not yet reached. As when you look at some of those documents, you'll even notice that the receiver, there was no date for the receiver, for the person who received it. And even at one of those institutions, the person has never received it or has not seen it. The person just saw it on media. So I would advise that always let us get the right information from the source. Secondly, there are two things I feel people are confusing. One of them is the continuous assessment and then the individual project. Earlier on, like NCDC had proposed that this, like anything the child scores within individual project is going to be scored. However, we are still waiting for UNEB and NCDC to guide better on that. So, however, you may find that we may not submit the scores, like the marks, because as they are still discussing, they have not yet given us the way forward. But it does not mean that children are not supposed to study individual project. When you analyze the syllabus, you will note that from second term of senior 5, you will note that whatever children are looking at, it is about project. So from term 2, whatever thing children are looking. Now, what we have been looking at under literature review, that's what we expect. Those are some of the activities you must have done with the children when they were in senior 5, whereby they are going to look at extended essay, whereby you are going to give them different research articles. They are able to identify, to generate topics, and the rest of that. So we expect that one to have been done in senior 5 from term 2 onwards. Things concerning literature and the rest of that, that is senior 5. Apply relevant literature appropriately in their work, show how to quote and the rest of that. AP and MLA chosen. So all this is senior 5. So whatever thing we are doing now, it is just, we are just building on from what you have been teaching in senior 5. Yes, so you will note that individual project is part of what children are supposed to learn. The only thing that may not happen now, maybe according to the way things are, maybe it might be submitting scores, but it doesn't mean that the children will not find it or may not find it in the in the final assessments. So because it carries the biggest percentage of the syllabus, the other part of writing an article, you'll note that it's just one topic of communication in term 1, but from term 2 up to the time they finish, it's about individual project things, about research, and the rest of that. So I would advise that even you look at data collection. So all these things we are now going to apply. When you look at senior 5, children were just analyzing documents, learning how to use these tools and the other. But now senior 6, they must be able to apply what you taught them in senior 5, term 2, term 3. So that's what we are building on. But there is nothing very new that we are bringing. All the things we are talking about are already in the syllabus. So we are following the syllabus. When you look at it, you will notice that children are supposed to do. And these are skills that children are going to apply in real life. Children are going to be coming up with business ideas. Children may want to start this and this, but they need to know, how do I establish a good business? What do I need to know? That one, I must have a good business name, which is equivalent to the topic of the study. I must know the location where my business is going to be located. I must be able to identify a problem within the society. That is problem statement. I must know what I want to achieve at the end of the day. Those are the objectives. I must be able to answer what are some of the research questions. What are some of the... Now, all the things children are doing, it is applied in real life. That before I establish maybe a business, anything at a later time, I must be able to review what have these people done about it. Before you go on to establish something, to establish a business, whatever thing you want to come up with, you first read about what have other people been doing within that sector. And that's now the literature review. And then from there, you identify which gaps did these people have. Then from there, you can come up with a better solution to solve all those problems. And that's how the child will be able to add. Then you ask, how will I attract customers? Now the child is talking about the methodology. So you can note that whatever thing the child is doing, it is even applied in real life. That they are not only going to leave it in class, but they are learning skills they are going to be able to use at a later time. That even when it comes to university, you have had, or you have read newspapers whereby universities are now working on their curriculum. They are now designing what these children are going to find. But one of the areas universities are going to focus on is going to be research-based direction. So we are providing a foundation that is going to support these children once they join this higher institution. But also in daily life, they will find themselves utilizing this kind of knowledge. So let me hope I've been able to answer that person. When it comes to whether it is compulsory or what, it's what children are meant to cover. So it's what we expect that children are covering from the whole of this year, and they have been handling part of it in the data collection and the other things. No, Glenn, Teacher Glenn, I'm saying that project work it is something that is to be carried out the whole year. The whole of this year, from term 1, term 2, term 3, we expect children to be working on their individual project. I told you second term of senior 5, term 3 is where you introduce the idea of extended essay. But the kind of extended essay that you take the children through is the one that is in the direction of research, because you have to give them different research articles such that they can be able to look at how topics are written, how how data is analyzed, such things. So that's what we expect, that in term 12 senior 5, that's something they are working on under extended essay. So that's why they look at different topics. That's where, because even we expect that now they are able even to apply that knowledge to address community challenges. So it is just about being able to comprehend the structure of an extended what is, so they are able to see those different sections. They are able to know why sections are put here. They are able to discuss different topics. They are able to discuss different problems that are existing. They are able to generate topics, ideas from the scenarios. So here we expect the teacher is going to give them scenarios, and then the children sit down and then they generate topics from those given scenarios the teacher has given them. So that's what we expect the children to be doing. They should be able to apply relevant literature, all that, and how to reference as early as possible. So when you look at the syllabus, you'll find all that being included. Now, what about children who have not covered this? Now, this one becomes now very tricky, but I know we still have time. So go on and support them. Go on and support them such that they can be able to look at some of those things. Because now one of the challenges these children are going to face at this, they are going to face at the moment is going to be being able to analyze that data. It's going to become, because now next time, I don't know whether next time or the last session, we shall be looking at data analysis, data methodology, or the methodology. So if children were not introduced to how data is analyzed, which tools do we use, how do we develop questionnaires, so they will find it hard for them to do. Yes. Yes, okay. I think in case there is any question or any concern, feel free to raise your hand, and then you can ask. But in case, okay. Okay, Teacher Wesley.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kaziva. We are here with our students, learners, but they are getting surprised and they are feeling that the work is too much for them, because they have been here telling me that in senior 5, they did not hear something of that kind when they were having their GP. So are we safe? Surely, with the time.
Oh, sorry to hear about that, Teacher Resty. But I would like to say that according to what I have noticed on ground, some teachers did not like look at the syllabus critically. So some might have continued to teach the other old way, yet the syllabus demanded something differently. And because we didn't have any guidance earlier on, so some of those things were skipped. Now, what I would advise that the time we still have is still, it is still possible for them to catch up. The beauty is that in some of these areas, most so for people who do sub-math and pure math, they have an advantage that one, when it comes to data methodologies, things of percentile, probability, standard deviation, variance, and the rest of that, they already have an idea. So that is the beauty. Now, what we shall now bring in will be the interpretation. How do you interpret this probability? How do you interpret standard deviation and the rest? But also people of ICT, for them, since they know how to use some of these tools, such as Excel, and other data tools such as S.6 for some of you. Some of them, I know they might be knowing some programming. So for them, data analysis will be a bit easy. But also typing on the computer to do their work, it will be a bit easy. Then whether the work is too much or not, I would like to say that the work is not too much because we are not going to go into details, a lot of details, but we are going to keep within the 4,000 words. So the time we still have is enough. My advice would be that let the children start, let them not wait for the final day. And I would advise, let them do this thing on their own. Let them do it, because whenever they do it, even if, let me say, a question comes, any scenario comes when that requires them to develop a topic, a research plan, and the rest of that, it will be easy for them to handle. And like I've said, when you look at the syllabus, you may notice that the biggest percentage is about that. So I don't know what might happen or what might come, but you may notice that the item may be concerning, one of the items would be in that direction. So the children must learn. But the time we have is still enough. Let them utilize the holiday. Let them utilize the teachers as early as possible to catch up with what they might have missed. But also I want them that let them take now GP very serious, because I know many of them have that kind of mindset, that's 1 point, the what, and the rest of that, of which now we don't have anything concerning points. It is either A, B, C, D, or E. So I would advise that let us now take every subject we are doing seriously, because at the end of the day, it will have an impact on your results. And when you check out for many of the good universities, sometimes the good universities consider project work, consider that project thing you do. So it will be an advantage that even when you go in the direction of research, you will be very good. You will be very, very good. So I would advise that the time we have is still enough. The whole of this year is what you are supposed to be working on. But if every week you can plan better as a student and say, this week I'm going to work on this, next week I'll work on this, next week I'm going to work on this. So at the end of the day, you'll find yourself that you are able to finish your project on time. And remember also, we shall have a part where you are going to present your findings. You remember you have to collect data from the society, from the environment, and then you analyze. So it's a bit demanding, but I advise that do not fear. We still have time and we shall be able to catch up. Okay. Yes, Teacher Zaria? Okay. I'm
Thank
failing.
you.
Yes?
Okay, thank you. I have a concern on whether you would really help us find, because you have taken us through how you need the literature review should look like. We are used to the other format of, actually the old one, which you have said is weak. This one requires comparisons, finding gaps. How I wish you could share some template and we see how to go about it, because the truth is most of our general paper students have not had this. I don't know how I can express it best, but we have not had a big experience with this whole thing. So how I wish you would help us possibly share these templates guiding us on what is exactly required of us. Then I also wish to know on the mode of assessment. Is it going to be like the project assessment like we did it at school level? Who is to assess this individual project? Thank you.
Okay. One, I will share those templates on the different groups where I am after the session. Number two, who is going to assess? The ministry, they are still planning on how best to handle. But I know for this year, you'll find that the teacher will assess. However, what the teacher has assessed will be reflected in what the child will be able to present at the end of that day. So whatever thing the teacher assesses will be reflected in the child's work. because I know when you look at the assessment modalities that have been designed and they are still being discussed, you'll find that there will be something, an item about the project that children will have to answer. It could be maybe asking them about methodology, it could be asking them how to come up with topics and the rest of that and whatever. So the children must be able to know how to handle such. On top of the other essay that they have been writing of less than 400 words, and the rest of that. So they must be able to know, in case I meet this problem, how do I come up with a topic? How do I generate a research question? How do I go about it? How do I come up with a plan? Which methodology will I use? Why will I use questionnaires and the rest of that? So I would advise that let's start as early as possible. Then when it comes to literature review, I think those people of literature, they have been, for them, they mainly do a lot of analyzing of the novels and the rest of that. So that's the kind of thing. Because the first thing children have to do, they have to first summarize the study, of which in English at O level, they do summary writing. So they will learn how. Here, we expect them to apply that knowledge to summarize the different studies that they are going to meet, and then pick something from those studies to make informed decision. Yes, but I'll share the work after the session such that you can follow through and guide the children better on how. But the beauty, what you have to know is that what we are giving, or what maybe I'm sharing with you, you'll find that it is the same thing that the children will find at another level and another level and another level. That even when you get those research if you had earlier, if you expose the children to the different research articles, they may have learned how literature review looks like. So, but you can look at different papers that have been published from the sources I've showed you, and then the children can be able now to start getting a hint on how a literature review is and how you are supposed to do it, as long as you get it from credible sources that have been peer reviewed. But I want to say that children will be able to handle. At least I'm sure I've seen schools that have been able to handle up to some point. At least I know some schools that have reached chapter 2 and now they have gone to the methodology. Let's give it time. These things of giving GP 1 hour on the timetable and forget about and think that maybe it's not so important. I think that's where now the mess is coming up with that. Maybe we might not have given it a lot of time, yet it is very demanding, to the point that it might be demanding more than even some of the subjects we have on the syllabus, and of which even it is very important, than very, very important. Yes. Okay. Azalia. Okay. I think I've been able to answer. Okay. Yes, Charity.
Yes, Mr. Kazimba, I'm asking, when are we having the session about methodology?
Oh, now that session it might be one of the last sessions that we shall have because we have to go to structure our document very well. I want us that the next time we come back, next Monday, we build up from the title page, we go to operation definitions, we go to the table of contents, we go on to build the whole of chapter 1 up to chapter 2. That's what I'm looking at when we come back next time. Then after we have built up our document up to chapter 2, then we are going to go on and start on chapter 3. And then we shall have our proposal finished. So it might come the other Monday, but also I will let you know whether it will be a Monday, because I know our last engagement, in this month, will be on the 27th. So I will let you know whether it will happen on 2nd or 3rd of whether Saturday or Sunday, our last session. But I'll let you know on the different groups. Then For things concerning scores, that decision has not yet been taken. But I would, in your preparation, have it that its weight is bigger than the other part. Takes a bigger weight. Okay. Okay. Okay, those asking for the manual, unfortunately, I don't have, but when I finish, whatever thing I share with you, feel free to use it. It will be able to support you. Otherwise, I want to thank all of you for attending this session. Thank you so much. And I want to request that let's not confuse the scores that maybe you name or what people are circulating on media. Because what people are circulating on media is about us like submitting scores for UNEB what. That is the thing that UNEB is not yet ready for. But when it comes to doing the real project, it is part of the work. So let's continue to support the children to come up with that. I don't know whether Teacher Susan, you have something. I'm saying your. Okay. Otherwise, thank you so much. Let's meet again next time. Have a beautiful evening and see you again. I will share the recording on the different groups and the presentation and then the templates.